Hello and welcome to this edition of 101 with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. I'm Lorna Virgili and thank you for watching. Hello, Mr. Leggett. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. So we've been doing these interviews, you and I, since March of 2011. We have done about 75 or more of these interviews, and this program has served as an amazing tool for you to actually inform our county residents on a monthly basis, highlighting what has been done in the county. So what we're going to do today is try to put the 12 years of your administration in this show. So this will serve as another show of your legacy. But let's get started with elections. County residents have spoken. They went to the polls. About 55% of registered voters voted. And are you pleased with elections?
Well, first of all, I'm pleased with the turnout. The people got out and exercised their right to vote, and we had, I think, compared to midterm elections, a record turnout, and so that's good from that standpoint. I think the elections went fairly well as predicted in terms of what happens with the primary. I congratulated earlier Mark Eldridge and a number of the council members for their election victories. I'm looking forward to a smooth transition and hopefully a very successful four-year term next council and county executive.
Well, we'll talk about transition in just a minute. You know, most parents tell the kids, when you go somewhere, try to leave the place better than you found it. So can you tell us how you feel the way you're leaving the county compared to how you found it back in 2007?
Well, first of all, 12 years is a fairly long period of time, and I had some reservation about whether or not I would serve that length of time. And many have often said that you selected the very worst time in recent county history to, in fact, to serve as county executive, because I arrived just before the onslaught of the Great Recession, many difficult challenges and difficulties ahead. We had some very tough decisions to make to get the financial house in order here in the county. So it was a difficult challenge initially, but when I look back over it and I think about the decisions that we made and where we stand today, at one point in time, our financial reserves were fairly low, down about 2.1%. Close to $100 million, which is fairly low. As I leave office today, our financial reserves are at 9.4%, extraordinary number, and poised to move to 10% by next year. The actual finances placed us at about $500 million, so that's a remarkable change. And think about this, we maintain our AAA bond rating throughout the entire challenges of that Great Recession. We've built or maintained 77,000 affordable housing units. We have a record number of construction projects that we have approved. The tax, in terms of look at the tax and evaluate them per income, probably have gone down. People don't recognize that, but it actually went down over that period of time despite a few hikes here and there. So when you look at the county today, we're a much better financial position. We are stronger. The crime rate has gone down overall. And it reminds me of that old adage, you know, you select the times which you serve, but the times sometimes select you. And I think I was selected to serve at a very crucial time in the county's history.
Since you mentioned the finances, recently the county was once again granted a AAA bonding.
That's right.
You travel to New York.
And people have to recognize what that means. That means from the top rating agencies, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch, the county has the highest financial rating. That is the good housekeeper stamp of approval, meaning that our financial management, our financial outlook for the foreseeable future is really in very good position.
Continuing the topic of finances, the incoming county executive will have to work on his first operating budget for the county from the get-go. What does the financial picture look like?
Well, there are some challenges, but again, keep in mind when I came in, the challenges were much, much more difficult. And they were multiplied by the national recession. The county's budget had grown by 40% of the previous, by 10% per year for the previous 4 years, which was a huge change. We're only growing our budgets now about 1.5% or 2% at best. And so it's a rather steep decline from where we were before. And so overall, it's a much better position, but there are some real challenges out there. For example, our school population is now up to 162,000 students. We still have tremendous needs in affordable housing. There's an achievement gap with many of our students in our school system. And of course, we have to manage our budget. And I'm not sure that you can raise taxes meaningfully in the foreseeable future. And so you have to be very careful. And the thing that you have to do is look not just the short term. You're elected for a 4-year cycle. So I always thought in 4-year cycles as opposed to each individual year of a budget. So you have to start early, but you have to start in a way that I think prepares you and prepares the county for a 4-year cycle as opposed to 1 year.
And what would your recommendation be, thinking of that 4-year cycle, if it were you reelected?
Well, first of all, I think Mark Eldridge has been on the county council for a considerable period of time. He understands many of the issues that we've fought through. In fact, he's been part of the discussion and decision-making process for a period of time. He's intelligent, therefore the fundamentals of what we're talking about are already there. But there's a difference between being a council member. I served for 4 terms as an at-large council member and 12 years as a county executive. That's like night and day. As one of 9 members on the county council, the decision-making process is far different than being the county executive. And so you have to make that first step. You have to make the first list of recommendations, and then the council responds to that. You have to make it first, and you have to balance that budget and make some very tough decisions. And so you have to make that transition between what it's like being a council member, one of 9, as opposed to being the county executive.
Let's talk about some of your the work you've done in accomplishments, and let's talk about the tangible stuff, the stuff that actually you can touch, because you've done a lot of untangible work in our community. But capital improvement projects, about 50 projects completed.
No, we're more than close to 60, a little over 60.
60.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not including schools, parks, and the college.
No.
That's not including any of those. So you want to talk about the journey to actually accomplish all of these projects during a very difficult economic times.
Well, I made a decision that someone questioned at the time that I was making the decision. What normally happens is that when you get to a recession, people tend to clamp down and believe that there's very little that you can do because it may upset the apple cart and make the financial situation far worse than it otherwise should be. But if you look at it, in the time of the recession, capital cost to build things was cheaper. We had a AAA bond rated county, so therefore we could borrow at a cheaper rate. So the cost for us was cheaper overall. And so I made a sort of counterintuitive decision. I said, this is the time for us to move forward on projects that are already in the pipeline, that we've already approved, and we're waiting as the appropriate time in which to build them, rather than to wait and build them in the midst of an increase in inflationary hikes are going on. Let's build them during the recession when the cost is significantly down. That got us through a good part of what we're talking about.
We're going to talk about some of those capital improvement projects because some of them are amazing buildings here in Montgomery County. We got to take a short break, and we will be right back with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
If you think someone might be considering suicide or drugs, be the one to help them by taking these 5 steps. Ask. Keep them safe. Be there. Help them connect. Follow up. If you're struggling, call Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK or the 24-hour crisis center at 240-777-4000. Be the one to help. Learn more at betheone.org.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back to 101 with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. I'm Lorna Virgili. And Mr. Leggett, before we went to the break, we were talking about the capital improvement projects. At least 50 huge buildings in the county, 63,000 affordable housing units also.
77.
77,000. So there's more. I got the numbers from when you did the press event on the capital improvement project. So the numbers have definitely increased. Let's talk about the major projects that completed. Which is your favorite building in the county?
I think for me it would be the Silver Spring Library and the apartment adjacent there too for senior housing. The reason why it's a fabulous building, it's one that is needed. And we have a senior apartment attached there too. And many times people look at some of those projects and say, boy, that's an awfully expensive land. Why would you build a senior apartment building right in the midst of downtown Silver Spring? But we wanted to send a message, that we're not going to isolate our seniors at locations far away from the center of gravity. They want to be in places where they're close to the amenities in the county in terms of libraries, shopping, and all the things that are around in Silver Spring. And so I made that decision to build it adjacent to the library. So that's one of the favorite projects that I have. And of course, the Civic Center. And one that many people probably fail to recognize would be the Transit Center. It was a challenging, difficult project to get built, but we got it done. But let me give you an example, though, in terms of the difference between building in the recessionary period as opposed to building in times when the costs are going up. For example, the Rockville High School here in Rockville cost somewhere around $125 million to build. It's a nice building, but it's nothing super sophisticated about the building. It's just a nice high school. That was built during the inflationary periods. We built during the midst of the recession Paint Branch High School, a better looking high school in many ways, far superior in my opinion, and we built that for $85,000. So that's the difference between
85 million.
85 million, I'm sorry. That's the difference between the two projects, one during the recessionary period and one during the time when inflation and everything was going high. So what I did was to go back and reemphasize this, was to aggressively move those projects forward, and we got them cheaper and we got better projects because the construction cost was down, as well as the cost to borrow for those projects.
And let's talk about libraries, construction of new libraries, and
Right.
also the Refresh program for a whole lot of them as well.
Right. Well, we did a lot of it, 12 new refreshed libraries, and we were able to get many of them done at a cheaper cost. We multiplied that number across the county, and people are in libraries, and we've had a remarkable turnaround in the library construction capital costs. That was a good push as well in terms of the ability to build in very good times that were favorable for the county. So we went sort of counterintuitive and aggressively pushed those forward. Look at the recreational centers. We've either rebuilt or modernized virtually every recreation center in the county. New fire stations, new public safety headquarters. All of those projects we were able to build in great times of the recession as opposed to waiting.
On the public safety sector, the new public safety headquarters, the training academy, and also the Animal Services and Adoption Center, which is rather popular. And state-of-the-art and beautiful, and hundreds of animals get adopted on a yearly basis here in the county. Let's talk about...
But in addition to that, parks, hiker-biker trails, sidewalks, 35 miles of sidewalks, the list goes on and on and on. We went up 1,300% on road construction projects, repaving of roads in the county. Extraordinary number of roads that we were able to repave and reconstruct.
Yeah, transit, you already mentioned Silver Spring Transit Station being completed. Purple Line coming to town, and Bus Rapid Transit, the recent groundbreaking for the first system, Flash, on Route 29.
Yeah, I joked that my preferred name was Ike's Fast Bus as opposed to Flash, but Flash won out.
So that must be, it was wonderful that at least at the end of...
And this, people have to understand, this is the Route 29 corridor, that ultimately it would run from Howard County, that is downtown Columbia, all the way to the Silver Spring Transit Center. And we are on the path now to open it, I think it's 2021.
With all that has been done, obviously we cannot recap every single thing that has been accomplished during the last 12 years. What's missing?
Well,
What did you want to do that you didn't get to?
well, there are some projects that are still out there that we've already started and we did not complete at the time frame. I really wanted to have a transit authority that would have provided for us a means to fund even greater projects without the impact directly to our taxpayers that we have to now compete against schools and roads and other things. That's a missed opportunity for us. We have a wine crush facility that we've gotten funding for that will be built in the Poolsville area. There are a number of school projects that I think were pushed back that we needed to bring up a little bit faster. And we need to make certain that we provide the financial strength to go forward on those projects as well. There are some incomplete projects. We need to find space for our bus maintenance depot that's still out there, and we have a couple of ideas and suggestions about how to do that. So there's some incomplete projects that I think we've either gotten started. We're well on the way, for example, the redevelopment of Silver Spring, and Wheaton, and as well as the new library for Wheaton, Glenmont, and recreation center there as well.
Affordable housing. There is never enough affordable housing in Montgomery County in particular, 77,000 units. What needs to be done?
Well, we
What
need to
could be
continue
a reasonable
we need
goal?
to continue to dedicate a certain amount of money. When I had the goal of 2.5%, and we hit that quite a number of times during the recession and throughout my administration. We provided well over $1 billion directly in terms of affordable housing. We were able to leverage a great deal of money from the private sector, and this is how that number went up so drastically, all the way up to 77,000 units that we've either constructed, that we're maintaining, or in some way that we are provided for people in the county. That's an extraordinary number, but as you've just stated, there's an extraordinary demand for additional affordable housing in Montgomery County.
Thank you, Mr. Leggett. We're going to take another short break,
Sure.
and we will be right back. Please do stay tuned. More is coming up with County Executive Ike Leggett.
At Montgomery Parks, it's time to play. Tag!
Oh, I'm on base.
What's base?
This.
Playgrounds are awesome, but make sure you remember to take a ride aboard a miniature train.
Do you think they'll let me drive? I mean conduct.
Bring a picnic lunch and enjoy a meal outdoors. And what better way to end your day than a ride on a classic carousel?
Dad wins the Triple Crown!
Montgomery Parks, it's all here.
Did you know there are more than 10,000 county government phone numbers? But there's only one number you need to remember for non-emergency calls, 311. MC311 is Montgomery County government's online telephone information system. Need information? Have a problem or complaint? Trying to locate a county government facility? Call 311. The call center is open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The website is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Welcome back to this edition of 101 with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. This is our final Legacy Farewell edition after more than 75 of these shows with you, Mr. Leggett. Let's talk about MC311 because that center was created during your administration. And what is it? About, 4 million calls? 1 million calls? How many calls have they received so
About
far?
4 million calls.
4 million calls, correct? How it services the county residents?
Well, it's one of the things that I indicated when I was running for the office that I wanted to improve on. And the reason I started with that was that people would see me when I was a council member. They would say, you know, I had a question about X or Y, and I couldn't get this number, couldn't get that number. And I tried to say, well, who did you call? Who did you talk to? What was the problem? And there was no real record in terms of the ability of the county to maintain and track that. And so I wanted this system in place so that we can have a verifiable system so that people can say, I called X date, we have a file number, we'll know when we responded to that and how we responded and satisfaction level and so forth. And overall, it was something that I pushed very well. In addition to that, we also provided county stat to look at ongoing performance in real time so that as we review projects, plans, complaints, we're able to go in and look at those and come up with best solutions, ideas, and suggestions about how we can improve county services as well. So the combination of things were things that I wanted to have in place. A system that was verifiable, fact-based for complaints, issues, or concerns and information, as well as a system to test performance of ongoing county services and programs.
One of the things that you have accomplished as a county executive, when you first started your administration 12 years ago, you said that you wanted to fit more people at the table, and the table just needed to be bigger. And one of the things that you have really excelled at is being there in all communities, being present at community events, etc. And as a result of that, one of the things has been the sister city agreements with several countries, which Montgomery County did not have in the past. And this has brought the community together.
It certainly has. When you say that, okay, I want to be closer to our communities, and what had happened over the years is that much of the world had come to Montgomery County. We're a very strong international community. It come to Montgomery County, but it needed to be a two-way street. Montgomery County also needed to go to the world. The world had come to Montgomery County. What I wanted to do was therefore take Montgomery County to the rest of the world. In so doing, we can build on the cultural relationships through the Sister City program, educational components which we have with Montgomery College and our school system with foreign countries, as well as the economic development approach whereby we're looking at business opportunities for our business community either there or here, and we have that exchange as well. So three pillars to it: education, culture, as well as business. And as a result of that, we have taken Montgomery County to the rest of the world, and we are benefiting enormously as a result of that. And so I am very proud of the Sister Cities program, the places that we've gone, and we've done so without using hardly any county money at all, because we structure the trips whereby the private sector and the individual people who are going with us pay for their own trips.
Let's talk about, there's been the economic recession, and all these other factors, but let's talk about Mother Nature. And I found this data very interesting because recently you celebrated the Snow Summit just to make sure that the Department of Transportation is ready for the next winter season coming up. Over the last 12 years, we have experienced 202 snow, ice, wind, and rain events that have amounted to a total of 366 inches of precipitation. And you have dealt with that. Each inch, you always say it's about, what, $1 million? $1 million. And are we ready for this, for the next snow season?
I think that we are. We have developed a good set of standards which we follow. We have more trucks. That's one of the other things. We have about 300 and so snow plows that we have now to utilize, state of the art. The technology is better. The leadership and our training, all much, much better. And so the best preparation for it, though, is to not have snow. I don't want to see snow.
Neither do I.
when I first moved to this area from Louisiana, I loved snow. I'd see all these beautiful flakes falling out of the sky. It was just amazing to me to see that coming out of the South. But over the years, my position has changed with snow. As opposed to seeing these beautiful white flakes falling now, I actually see dollar signs falling out the sky. It's a real challenge. And so when people ask me, what are some of the most difficult things outside the budget discussion we had before, it's snow. People react in a way in this community about snow that's unbelievable. And the reason for it is that when it snows, it has an enormous impact psychologically, emotionally. You can discuss, for example, the effect of a bill or an action that you've taken. That discussion may go on for years because it's hard sometimes to defend or determine whether or not it is good or bad. But when snow falls, people have an instant reaction to it and they make an assessment immediately. They know when it fell, how long it was on the ground when you picked it up, how many days they're away from work or school, it goes on and on and on. And so for many jurisdictions, snow is a real problem.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Now, let's try we're almost at the end of the show, and I have a couple of questions here, and I'd like you to, try to answer as best as you can. Looking back, your best accomplishment?
Maintaining budget sustainability and putting the county in a better position financially.
Worst decision? Worst?
The worst decision? The most difficult decision was not getting the transit authority and not being able to get that across the finish line.
What's pending? What is pending?
Pending, I would say, going back to finance, maintaining the stability that we have today and to ensure that long-term stability, because that's always a challenge. It's not a one-off problem, it's a long-term problem.
Regrets?
Regrets? Not being able to do even more and getting some projects like the Wheaton downtown project move faster, and a project right up from Wheaton, the Glenmont Shopping Center, and of course the Burgensville Shopping Center. Not being able to finish those at the time of fashion.
Lessons learned?
Lesson learned? The residents, citizens of Montgomery County are always smarter. There's someone out there who knows more about the problems and difficulties and the issues that you're discussing than you do, so respect it.
Quick advice for the new county executive?
Make sure you get people around you who are going to tell you what you need to know, and to be honest with you, to be transparent, and recognize that we have an awful lot of very smart people in this county and bring them aboard, even those whom you may disagree with.
Hope for the county's future?
That we will continue to move in the direction that we are in, that we are an open city, that we are a county, that we are one of the most diverse and inclusive in the world, and I hope that we will achieve that distinction.
What are you going to do the last days in office as part of the transition?
Make sure that I contact people to ensure that I thank them, making certain that the transition preparation will go smoothly and that we provide a good foundation for the new county executive to walk through.
What's next for Mr. Leggett?
Retirement.
Really?
Yeah.
What is retirement for Mr. Leggett?
Well,
what does it
travel,
look like?
That means reading, that means luxury, cruises, and all the good things that you normally have with it. Well, maybe not the word luxury, but good cruises.
As you leave, exit this building, and you look back, you might choose not to look back, but if you do, what would be your best memory?
The best memory would be the people in the building and what they've provided and how hard they've worked and being part of a wonderful team.
What will you miss the most?
What I miss the most? Probably the early morning calls when it snows.
You will miss that?
Yeah.
And are you going to stay involved in
no.
community?
What I would miss.
You will miss the most. You will not miss the snow calls.
Oh, what I would miss most often would probably be trying to find a parking space in Montgomery County. I had an unusual set of circumstances happen recently where I drove in myself and I couldn't find a parking place, and I was disappointed. I said, boy, this is so unusual because normally I don't have to worry about that. So of all the things that I would miss would be the failure to find a parking space, which I have not had to do in the last 12 years. Beyond that, I don't think anything else.
Special parking, and of course, you will stay involved in the community. How do you foresee doing any community volunteer work?
I didn't say that I would do that.
No?
I said I would retire.
Retire completely.
Yeah.
Are you going to pick up any hobby, travel?
Retirement, all of the above.
All the way, all the way. And Mr. Leggett, one last message here on this particular show for our county residents.
Well, this is a great county. I love Montgomery County. The people have given me a tremendous honor to be the leader for the last 12 years, and I hope that I made you proud of my leadership. And remember that this is a great county, but we can always make it better.
Thank you, Mr. Leggett. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching, and of course, for more information, do visit montgomerycountymd.gov.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.